Eviction proceedings have been dropped against the Fort Worth woman who shot an intruder. Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. Aaliyah Wallace shot and killed a would-be intruder December 14th. Fox 4's Sean Rabb reported this story. He's continued to follow it. Apartment management told Wallace she would be evicted for having a gun, which was prohibited by their lease. Sean's in studio with the latest update.
Yeah, and those proceedings dropped, Clarice, after an attorney who advocates for renters' rights got involved, and a state representative questioned whether Wallace could be evicted. Leah Wallace was notified after shooting someone trying to break into her federally subsidized home, who turned out to be a 14-year-old, that she was going to be evicted.
The apartment called and told me that I was not supposed to have a gun at all, even though I kept calling them and telling them somebody was breaking in.
No one should be denied their Second Amendment right just because they live in public housing.
Welcome to the podcast, It2 Podcast, the acronym standing for Is It Important to You? If it is, there's no judgment. If it isn't, there's no judgment. We can voice the way we feel respectfully with each other. So today we just want to talk about Aaliyah Wallace, young mom of 4 girls in Fort Worth, Texas. She had multiple break-ins. She lives in federal subsidized housing. She had, I believe, 4 or 5 break-ins in her home. And on the night or early morning of December 14th, a 14-year-old Devin Baker was attempting to break into her home through her 8-year-old daughter's bedroom window, and she shot and killed him. It turns out the 14-year-old lived in that same building. So she was, because it was federal subsidized housing, she was about to be evicted in 30 days because apparently in subsidized housing, you are not allowed to exercise your constitutional right because it's federal subsidized housing, which is crazy to me. And she shot and killed him, but she wasn't allowed to have a weapon. So she recently just won renters' rights, went to court and helped her to remove that eviction. So she won that, and now she is just waiting on to see what the grand jury decides, because the police did not bring any charges towards her, so they are waiting on a grand jury. My question to you is, what are your thoughts on, because you live in Section 8 or HUD housing, not being able to exercise your constitutional right by having the right to bear arms? What are your thoughts about that in Section 8 or HUD housing?
First, thank God she was in Texas, because if she was not in Texas, then they would not have helped her with that. Honestly, everybody in housing or Section 8, public housing, anything, they have the most guns in that community. So honestly, they have the most. Those communities have the most gun violence.
Okay.
So what's the point of not allowing it anyways? It's already there. And then there's people there that's protecting themselves on top of that.
Well, I think the people that in subsidized housing that can have a weapon because they don't have a record, they probably follow the rules, and the people that can't have a weapon, they do. And I think
majority of the youth that stays in that proximity of housing. It might not be the person that name is on the lease. It's always the grandchild or the, you never know, friends or anybody. Just in that community, in those neighborhoods, they have the most guns, the most gun violence. So,
yeah. And to me, the bigger issue is
it worse by. That's probably why it's the most. They're making it worse by not allowing that too.
Well, to me, the bigger issue is if a person, by law, they don't have a record and they are allowed to, because they don't have a record, allowed to have a firearm just because they stay in Section 8 of HUD. Why can't they have a weapon? Everyone deserves to be able to defend themselves. Imagine if she would have followed the rules and not had a weapon when this 14-year-old was attempting to get in her
Her kid, you
8-year-old
never,
daughter's window.
her
Who
kids
knows
would have
what
got
would
hurt.
have happened to her 8-year-old? Her and most 14-year-olds are carrying guns. So imagine if she wouldn't have exercised her constitutional right. And it's just a law that, well, it's that's a rule or policy or regulation that needs to be changed with HUD for people that legally want to purchase a firearm to have in their home for protection. I'm not talking about the ones that illegally have a whole bunch of weapons in HUD and Section 8, even though we know they do. So she feels really bad. I watched the interview. She feels really bad. She
And
even
then an eviction through government housing is like the worst thing. Like if you get
Mhm.
an eviction and you're renting through your own, I'm not trying to be funny, you're renting through your own money, your own, like,
Mhm.
it's different because it's just
Well,
you could possibly get into another home, but like they were saying on the news, people were saying that's if you get evicted through housing, you could probably not get you. I don't
she'll
know.
lose her housing
It's
voucher.
gonna take a long. It's gonna take
Right.
years to get it back.
Yeah, she'll lose her housing voucher. And that on the interview I watched with her, she needs that housing voucher. She doesn't. She has four girls. She's a single mother. Another problem I have too, but this is on another video. I do have a problem with four children. I don't see a man. I never heard a man being mentioned, a dad, a father being mentioned.
In that
And
home.
it's really sad because for such a young person, I believe she's only 24, to have four children already, no father present, that's a serious problem. And I'm not going to get on that, but that's a problem to have four children and no father present or active. But the eviction, with any eviction, it can go on your record, even if you're just
Yeah,
outright
even if,
renting.
yeah, but it's a
So,
you have a better chance. This is the thing with her being on housing. She obviously
yes,
she obviously needs that support.
right, I
So
understand. That's what I'm saying with,
she's gonna be she's gonna be left in a hole if they just throw
right.
her out.
And
But
on a,
like other people, okay, they obviously they don't need housing, so they can find their
right,
way into another place. Her,
right. She would lose
she's a
her,
single mom.
she would lose her housing voucher, her Section 8 voucher, or whatever. And with her being a single mom, and apparently over there, she's going to be able to stay there, but now she wants to move. But the problem now that they're having in Fort Worth, Texas, and in a lot of states, a lot of people don't want to accept the subsidized housing. And I can understand why some landlords don't want to accept it because of, the history and the background with people that have subsidized housing
Oh
not
yeah,
taking care of the property.
he was
But
saying why
right
they
now,
don't accept it. I remember.
right. So right now she won that case. She's able to stay where she is in her apartment, but she really wants to move. So yeah, I just think that is that's a policy or regulation with housing that needs to be changed because everyone has a right to protect themselves in their home. Even people that had cases where they are convicted felons, like for nonviolent crimes, they can't even protect themselves because they are convicted felons for nonviolent crimes. Maybe just a crime where it was maybe a drug crime or something. But I think every person deserves a right to exercise their right. So,
Hmm.
um,
And
w-
then it's just wrong. I mean, they see she have. I can't. You can't make the system have sympathy for you or
mhm,
empathy, anything. But it's honestly, it's not even funny. Like she has what? How many girls?
four.
Four girls. Regardless, I don't care what like you going back to what you said actually about that's being another topic about her being that young, having 4 kids with no father present. Even if she had good income, right, and she didn't need housing, as a single mom with 4 kids, I don't care what nobody say, without a father or some type of help, that is hard. I don't care how much money that you have.
Right.
It
It's
doesn't
still
matter.
hard.
It's rich women who need support with their kids
Mm-hmm.
that you cannot do. So that's another thing too. It's gonna be way too hard for her. I'm glad they gave it back to her, because rather she did work, that no father, it seems like nobody else she's independent, she's helping herself with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So rather she didn't need housing or not, it's still hard with those 4 girls, actually
Right.
what you said, with no father. So, and then being on housing on top of that, that's even worse. So I'm just glad that they
Yeah.
turned it around.
Yeah. Okay, so let us know what you guys think about this policy or regulation that subsidized housing has with tenants not being able to legally have a firearm because it's subsidized housing. So it's almost a violation of a constitutional right, if you ask me, being able to bear arms and protect your family. And if she didn't have this firearm, who knows what would have happened to her and her children. Let me know what you think about this and leave your thoughts. And please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for listening.